The Queen of Granada, by M. Riff. Chapter 104, The Letter. I knew nothing about the letter, not the sender, not the recipient, not its date or content. Nothing. If it hinted at me being adopted, I should have turned to my parents, aunts, and uncles for help, but I had grown distant from them during my rebellious years, especially after Pal's birth. I wanted to shield him from their judgmental looks and old-fashioned remarks. It didn't seem wise to seek their help in unraveling the mystery of our roots. Even if they knew something, they were unlikely to share family secrets. Besides, when I was little, they blamed me for what happened to my uncle, as if he were a saint and I was a witch. Rita looked over at Rosen, who still had her eyes closed and her head resting on the headrest. She thought about interrupting her and asking about her uncle but decided against it. Instead, she let Rosen continue. I felt like I was stuck. I went back to my bed and buried my face in the pillow. It gradually got dark, and I tossed and turned all night, unable to find a way out. When I finally dragged myself under the shower in the morning, I sat there on the floor, huddled up, while the water poured over me. At some point, the hot water turned cold, but I didn't even notice. It was obviously that cold water that sparked an idea in my head. Maybe I should visit Carol, an old friend from our college days who used to be involved in youth rebellion, just like me. However, life had led her down a different path, and now she worked in the National Register office. Maybe she could give me some advice on where to start. When I showed up at her office after so many years, early in the morning with puffy eyes, she couldn't offer much help. As a last resort, she suggested I check the Central Archive. She didn't know the procedure, so she took me on a tour of the building to find someone who did. We ended up in the empty office of a grumpy older man with gray hair who finally returned to his office chair. He limped noticeably and had his large ceramic coffee mug in the hand. You could tell by the wrinkled face that he had been through a lot. While we were waiting, Carol told me that he used to be the chief inspector of the police and knew all the nation's secrets. He had been sent to the National Register as a kind of exile. According to him, accessing the Central Archive was nearly impossible. It required a valid court order, which was extremely hard to obtain. This was due to the fact that during the Second World War, some children had been forcibly removed and adopted away without the rules being strictly followed. The authorities wanted to keep these cases under wraps until enough time had passed. Then, many of the people involved would have passed away, and there would be less risk of an avalanche of scandals. I was disappointed and didn't know where to turn. As we were leaving his office, the man could see how upset I was. He asked Carol to give us a moment alone. Carol closed the door with a mischievous smile, as if she thought he was going to ask me out. In a way, he did. He told me that as a last resort, I could meet him at the back door of the National Register exactly at midnight. He'd unlock the door, go inside, and leave the keys as if he'd forgotten them. If I got caught, it would be my problem, and if he got fired, he'd be glad to be free from that place. As I was leaving his office, he looked at me and said, "I'm pretty sure I've seen that piercing gaze before, but I can't quite place it." I shook my head and denied it. I didn't want to dredge up too many memories from my past. My life was already complicated enough. Closing the door behind me, I saw the chief inspector take a bottle of whiskey out of his drawer and pour some into his cold coffee.